It's always fun to poke a little fun at the bizarre ways some people have died, but in the end, they are tragic losses of life nonetheless. Well, from flying lawn darts to coconut airplanes, here are 10 of the dumbest ways people have died. Number 10. Being eaten alive by an anaconda. In 2002, a man named Jose Luis Cholo was working in his family's banana plantation in Colombia when he decided to take a quick dip in a nearby lake to cool off. He never made it out of that lake alive. Witnesses say they saw a giant anaconda snake rise up out of the water with a human leg in its mouth. They tried to scare the snake away by firing a shotgun into the air, but by the time they returned to the shore, the snake had already disappeared with its prey. The following day, the workers returned to find Jose's mangled body and what was left of the anaconda. This is one of the only cases where an anaconda was found with a human inside its stomach. Even more shocking is that this is not the first time someone has been eaten by an anaconda. In 1997, another Colombian man met his demise in a similar fashion. Pablo Oliveira was also attacked while swimming, and despite efforts from his friends to save him, the snake dragged him under and swallowed him whole. Number 9. Crushed by a giant wave while taking a selfie. A group of friends from Iran were hanging out at the beach in northern Algeria in August 2018 when they decided to take some pictures. As they stood in the shallows taking selfies, none of them noticed the massive wave cresting behind them. When it hit, it knocked all 4 friends off their feet and swept them out to sea. One of the friends managed to get himself upright and return to shore, but the other 3 were nowhere to be seen. After an extensive search, 2 of the bodies were discovered on a nearby beach, completely naked except for their shoes. It is believed that the powerful waves had stripped them of their clothing and caused them to drown. Although the third person still hasn't been found, authorities believe he also perished in the incident. Number 8. Death by rubber duck. What started out as a fun and relaxing day in the water turned into a nightmare for 74-year-old John Gold of South Padre Island, Texas. While enjoying a leisurely swim in the Gulf of Mexico in June 2009, he noticed a rogue rubber duck floating past him. Thinking nothing of it, he decided to try and push the duck back towards the shore so it wouldn't end up in the ocean. But as he grabbed onto the duck, the current suddenly shifted and pulled him further and further away from the coast. Despite struggling to free himself from the grasp of the floating menace, he eventually lost consciousness and drowned. His body washed ashore the next day, just a few miles away from where the fatal incident occurred. Number 7. Impaled by a sign. On October 16, 2007, 23-year-old Matthew Carrington and his friend Michael Corbin were drinking heavily at a bar in Tampa, Florida. After closing time, the pair stumbled out of the bar and started walking along the street. When Michael stopped to urinate, Matthew continued walking until he came across an open-air cigar bar. Thinking he could also use a bathroom break, he walked straight through the glass doors and into the building. He didn't see the sign above him which read, "Caution large dog," and when the sign fell, it went right through Matthew's head, killing him instantly. The doors were equipped with alarms that would alert customers when they were open, but they had been disabled so patrons could use the restrooms. No one knows why the sign wasn't secured better or moved during cleaning hours. Number 6. Death by cannonball. Who knew cannonballs could be lethal? Well, apparently a lot of people, because there have actually been quite a few deaths caused by these large balls of metal. In July 2008, 40-year-old Lance Corporal Thomas Ashworth was attending a military tattoo in Edinburgh, Scotland, with his wife. The couple watched as soldiers reenacted historic battles using real cannons. One of the cannonballs used in the demonstration rolled loose and began to roll down a hill. Thomas and his wife tried to flag down the soldiers to tell them it was rolling away, but they couldn't get their attention. The cannonball eventually reached the bottom of the hill where it hit Thomas on the head and killed him instantly. Number 5. Stabbed by a falling satellite. Imagine going outside to enjoy a nice view of the stars only to be impaled by a piece of space junk falling from the sky. Well, that is exactly what happened to 74-year-old Li Wenchao. He was standing on the grounds of his home in Taiyuan City, China, watching the night sky when a metal object streaked across the heavens and crashed into his neighbor's house. The object turned out to be part of a satellite, launched by China in 1999. Weighing around 22 pounds, it had fallen back to Earth after failing to function properly. Unfortunately, it landed right next to Li, piercing his skull and ending his life instantly. This is the only known case of a person being killed by space debris. Number 4. Crushed to death by an ATM. Wendy Ceratops and her husband Grant were leaving the Blue Water Grill in Redondo Beach, California in March 2006 when they needed to withdraw some cash from an ATM. They both leaned against the machine while waiting for the transaction to complete. But the moment they heard the sound of screeching tires, they knew they had to get out of there quickly. The driver of a passing car had lost control and was heading straight for them. Wendy and her husband pushed each other out of the way and managed to escape unharmed. But when the car slammed into the ATM, it crushed Wendy's 22-year-old son, Justin, who was standing just a few feet away. He was taken to the hospital, where he later died. Number 3. Strangulation by hair. In 2015, a woman from India named Ganga Baya was tying her sari when she felt a sudden onset of shortness of breath. She tried to loosen the knot around her neck, but it was too tight and she was unable to free herself. Her family rushed her to the hospital where she was admitted in critical condition. After doctors removed the scarf from around her neck, she was able to breathe again, but unfortunately, the ordeal had left her brain dead. Because of the extended period of time that she had been without oxygen, she never regained consciousness and passed away several days later. Strangulation is actually a relatively common cause of accidental death, especially in women who wear long flowing hair. There have been many cases of women accidentally strangling themselves with their own tresses. So make sure to tie it back if you don't want to meet your demise in a most peculiar fashion. Number 2. Hit by lightning while playing Pokemon Go. When the virtual reality game Pokemon Go took the world by storm in 2016, many people became so engrossed in the game that they forgot about the real world around them. Take, for example, 20-year-old Ottawa resident Isaiah Levesque. He was so focused on catching Pokemon that he didn't notice the dark clouds gathering overhead. When lightning struck him square in the chest, he was thrown to the ground unconscious. Bystanders quickly rushed to his aid and were able to resuscitate him, but he suffered severe brain damage due to lack of oxygen and never regained consciousness. He passed away 3 days later. Number 1. Crushed by a cow. Just imagine being squeezed to death by a cow. Well, for 45-year-old Wendy Sloboda from New Zealand, it became a horrifying reality. She was trying to herd a stubborn cow back into her paddock when the animal suddenly turned and charged her. Wendy screamed for help, but her cries went unheard. The cow gored her, tossed her into the air, and then stepped on her, crushing her like a pancake. When her husband finally arrived on the scene, he found her lifeless body wedged between the cow and the fence. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Do you know any other ridiculous ways people have died? Let us know in the comments below. And before you go, don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss out on any new videos.